Yo, what is up, everybody? This is Ben, and you are listening to episode 17 of the PB and GAINZ podcast. On today's episode, I'm talking all about dieting. It's the first podcast of 2016. It is the first time that I get to come out on the PB and GAINZ and really get to talk to you about something that, first off, is close and near and dear to my heart, because that's what I do here at Avenue. Is I'm a lifestyle engineer, and I head up all of the nutrition and food education. So this is close to my heart, but really it's important because we are so disconnected from food. It's unreal. And disconnected from food, what it really is, how to eat, why to eat, what we're eating. So we're going to touch on all of that. But first, as always, I'm going to start off with today's quote. And today's quote is from Fran Lebowitz, and it goes a little something like this: "Food is an important part of a balanced diet." Well, that seems pretty common sense. We're going to touch on that. It's going to be pretty exciting. So I will see you on the other side of the music.
And here we go.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly.
You are on the other side of the music. So, like I said, episode 17. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you giving me some of your time as we start the new year off on the right foot. Because that's what this podcast is about today. It's about diet. It's about food. It's about doing the right thing that's going to actually keep weight off for a long period of time. Doing the things that are going to make you feel better for a long period of time. This is not a temporary conversation. So if you're looking for a temporary conversation, you know what? You can probably just get out of this podcast. You can just turn it off. Hopefully you don't, because I would love to have you stay on here. But I want you to be able to take the message for what it is and to build upon it in your own mind. And so what we're going to work through today in the podcast is going to be different things that make up dieting. Some of it you've heard before. Some of it I really want you to take the time out of your day, out of the time right now you have. Maybe as I ask these questions, you ask the questions back to yourself and you think about them, because they're important to know, important to look at. And so a stat that I want to talk about to open up today is that, 77% of Americans are actively trying to eat better. 77. That is a big number. Now, why did I lead off with that stat? Because it tells me a few things. One, it tells me that, well, there's a ton of people that are out there that are trying to do this stuff. That's a huge number. And so that just from a mass perspective, there's a lot of us that are trying to lose weight. Now, that's not a good sign for a number of reasons. And like I said, we make subcategories here, but it's like, is it because we are really that big? And stats would support that. They would say that 1 in 3 Americans now are obese. I think 70% of Americans are now overweight. So that would make sense that 77% of Americans are trying to eat better. It also tells me that, it's something in which we place a lot of happiness and a lot of self-worth. Self-worth. That's an interesting word to say. Self-worth. We invest so much into what we weigh and how we visually see ourselves, and that's never good. Because there's so much more to us than that. And yeah, it might sound cliche and it might sound dumb or cheesy to you. And you know what? It doesn't matter, because I guarantee you, you're more than what a number says. And I say that a lot on the podcast. I say that in the Periscope videos and all that good stuff. But you have so much more worth than that. And I really want you to take that right now. And even if you have to tell it to yourself and say, like, I am more than a number, say it. And I want you to believe it. I mean, not only to say it, but believe it and take it to heart, because it's the food issue is such a red herring, and we chase after that. We throw a ton of money, and I'm gonna get into that. This fitness industry that is just ridiculous. A diet industry, I should say, not necessarily fitness, but like the people that are preying on us from a weight standpoint and selling us products and selling us plans and selling us all this crap. So with 2016 comes resolutions and new outlooks on the year and what is to come and what is possible. And with that comes a lot of failure. And what I mean by that is 92% of people fail on their goals. That's one way to look at it. Or you can look at it and say 8% of people, Americans specifically, 8% of Americans succeed in reaching their goals. and their resolutions that they set for themselves. So you can see that however you want to look at it. I will look at it and say 8% is just really not enough, period. We can do a lot better. And today I wanted to help you do better with the food aspect, the dieting aspect, because I get really, it gets frustrating to see a lot of people start something and then do something that they know is going to be temporary. They know it's only going to be for 21 days, 15 days, 30 days, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to lose this weight, and then they're done. And they put so much value in the weight. And so we're going to talk all about dieting, the diet industry, dieting for the new year, how you can be successful, and the problems that arise when it comes to the mindset of dieting. So on that note, let's kick off the show, as Gary Vee would say. I said 77% of Americans are actively trying to eat better. So from that, I take a few things. One thing meaning that we have a lot of people that are really unhealthy. That's one way to look at it. You could spin that and say, well, maybe there's just 23% of people who just don't care, or they're eating perfectly. And then you got to look at the context of how they're trying to eat better. Are they trying to just eat more organic foods? Are they trying to eat more healthy foods? Or are they trying to eat less crap? I mean, there's a number of ways we could break that down, but ultimately it shows that we are not in a spot we want to be, and we're trying to improve. And there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I admire the fact that people are trying to better themselves. That's great, and it should be applauded. But it makes me think of why we got in that spot to begin with. And I think it's a number of reasons, and I think mainly it starts with unhappiness, and I think it starts with a disconnect. We're so far removed from food and happiness that weight has become like that red herring. We chase weight. We chase the perfect, most ideal body and weight in this image, and really it will never get it, because if we're only chasing the weight, we'll never be happy. We'll never reach that spot. We might be content for a little bit, but then it's like, well, what if I did a couple more pounds? And I want to address these things in this podcast today to say that you can be happy, and your worth is not defined by a number. And if you can let that go, I think that's a huge start. You've already made a ton of progress based off of that alone. So move forward in positivity to know that it's capable to be better without changing your weight. So that's a pretty heavy thing to start today's podcast off with, but I think it's the most value you can possibly give, because we're doing a Whole30 as a group. So there's about 40 to 45 of us here at Avenue Fitness that are doing a Whole30 together. And so I think that when this recording comes out, we'll be on day 3, I believe. So we'll just start it. But I sent an email out to the group, and when I sent this email out to the group, I gave them the rules, the guidelines of Whole30, what it means, how to do it, how to be successful. And what it came back to was I wanted them to realize why they're doing it. Now, most people are going to take the email that I sent with the questions that I asked and say, screw it, I'm here to lose a few pounds, buzz off. Fine, that's cool. But I really wanted people to be in touch with the underlying reason, the deep thoughts that go through it. And so I asked, hey, why are you trying to do this? Why are you trying to, or why are you doing this Whole30? That was one. And then 2, it's like, what do you look to gain from this? And the responses I got back were incredible. I mean, I didn't get, of course, I didn't get the whole group to respond back, but I did get some really great feedback. People who are looking to drop their meds, people who are looking to have energy to play with kids, people who are looking to regain their connection with happiness. And these are the things that we went back to. And I think for that, if you're able to take your diet and say, in 2016, I'm going to lose a few pounds, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to do this stuff, great. But I want to know what the end result's going to be. I want to know how you see yourself at the end of it. If at the end of this whole thing, you see yourself, you're not having to take meds, your anxiety levels are down, you have this energy to play with your kids, you have this energy to be who you want to be. Maybe you're looking to get a new spouse, or not get a new spouse, but get a new spouse, or just impress someone you have, or impress yourself, whatever it is, and you can see that, and you can know how you'll feel, you know how you'll react, you know how you'll think at that time. You can do that and be like, damn, I'm going to be a badass in 2016 because this is what I'm about to do. So the mindset of dieting, I did a Periscope video on it yesterday, and really what it came back to was the mindset of dieting sets you up to fail, because the mindset of dieting is temporary, and it doesn't give you the main goal. It chases the red herring. I like that term. I'm going to keep saying red herring. But you keep to go after it, and you keep doing and chasing the thing that is easiest to chase. So when it comes to the mindset of dieting, what I talked about in that video was when you diet, you get to give yourself a deadline. If I say like, oh, you have to eat well for the rest of your life, you're kind of like, well, no, count me out. I like pizza and beer. Great. You know what? That can fit into whatever it is you're doing. But if you are a dieter, like the Whole30, it gives you 30 days. Now, granted, the Whole30 is designed to let you understand how your body works, and so then you can make better food choices along the way. But most people just do it for the 30 days of weight loss, and they go back to whatever it is. So if you already know that 30 days is going to be it, well, then that gives you the out. After 30, you're done. Maybe you get to 23. You're still pretty close to 30, but you're done. And to get out of that mindset of temporary and think more lifestyle long-term, like fitness professionals preach all the time, like, this is not a diet, this is the lifestyle. Like, hell, I've said all these different cliches. I'm sure you've heard them from me on the podcast, but it's the truth. If you're going to eat well for 30 days and then go back to every other habit you did, you wasted 30 days. Now, that might seem like, well, I learned a few things, so it's not a complete waste. No, but it's just, why not go into it and say, I'm going to be full-blown kick-ass for 30 days, crush it, and then I'm going to take these things and apply it to my life and do this because it's important to me. And we talked about that in the last podcast, was to be able to take prioritizing yourself as part of a way to get better as a human being. Well, this is one of those ways, is to make this a lifestyle. Prioritize it. Make cooking, make shopping, make food prep a part of your lifestyle, and you will reap the benefits from it. Don't diet. Don't crash diet. Don't follow the fads. Don't read the book because some celebrity did it and you're like, oh, this is great. Ketosis is fantastic. I almost passed out every few days, but man, I feel pretty freaking awesome. No. Find something that you can do. You might have to kind of step out of the comfort zone, and it might be a challenge, but you can do it. 30 days, like I said, for this Whole30, are hopefully what I want people to get out of is that it's challenging because you're having to reconnect back with food and how to cook and how to go through some of these different aspects of food and nutrition and lifestyle that maybe you've neglected for a while. But at the back end of it, you can say, I feel good and I want to continue to feel good. We had a client who I met with last January, I believe. It's been, man, that's quick. Last January. And she's done Whole30 for a whole year. And she's like, it's easy. I was like, man, I wish everybody could look at it like that. And, to say, she's like, I know I could have a little bit of alcohol. I know I could have a little bit of this sugar and different things, but I just know it's not worth it. It's not a big deal. And it's like, if you can have that a connection with your diet and how you feel, damn, you're a rock star. And most people just don't want to get to that point because it is a challenge. And it is easier to chase 5 pounds than it is to change a feeling. And I totally understand it because if I feel good, that's great. But it's not quite tangible as 5 pounds. And maybe that 5 pounds means I fit in my jeans better. Who knows? But there's different things. And say, like, what if you just felt better? It wouldn't matter how the jeans feel. Like, okay, well, maybe, my body's just changed. I'm not saying you should accept just overweight. And then that's part of the thing. Like, a third of Americans are now obese. 70% of Americans are overweight. And part of all of these different issues and these different health-related topics that pop up, you see, like, oh, diabetes numbers on the rise. And people don't, there's a large population that just doesn't care because it's becoming more acceptable. It's more acceptable to be unhappy and to be unhealthy. When I would challenge you to be accepting of the not necessarily the unhealthy aspect of it, but to say, all right, I'm going to put the focus on the happiness, and then I can then in turn feel better about my health, and I can challenge my health, and I can then go in to make it where I want to be, and I can build something differently. And so look at yourself through a different lens, not from a crash diet, not from a fad diet. But I'm going to get off the soapbox, and we're going to get into dieting itself. So my apologies. I get a little carried away when it comes to diet because it does mean a lot to me. And I've seen so many people walk through this gym and other gyms that I've been at who are just going to do the next 21-day sugar fix. And then after that, they'll go right back to whatever they were doing. So I'm going to talk to you now about the things that you do to sabotage how you eat and how you feel ultimately. So the first problem that comes with dieting is we cut our calories way too low. If you cut your calories too low, That is a major problem. Now, most of us follow this idea of calorie counting. It's starting to kind of fade out a little bit, but it's been gospel for many people. MyFitnessPal, all these different things. People track their calories like crazy. They don't really honestly know how many calories their body needs, but they're going to track them anyways. And they're going to get into it and say, oh, I need 17,000 calories. That's a lot of calories. 1,700 calories, excuse me. 1,700 calories, and I say, oh, I need this many. So if I eat this foods and I do this thing, you know what? I'll get that 1,700 calories. What they don't know is, maybe that's way too little for them. I've put in different things for myself, and it's told me that I need 3,200 calories to 3,400 calories to lose weight. Now, that just about doubles that 1,700 calorie number. And that's because I'm active. That's, I'm on my feet, and a number of things that go into play there, but it's to show that we tend to really undercut the number of calories we truly need. And if you're doing that, you're not giving your body the tools it needs and the supplies it needs to be able to survive and thrive. You might drop a few pounds in the beginning and you'll be super excited about it and you'll continue to cut your calories, but it's not going to be a healthy thing you can do long term. So make sure you're not cutting your calories too low to be able to feel good. If you start to feel tired all the time because you're at 1,200 calories, that's not good. That's not good. And you're going to have the bags in your eyes. You're going to look like a skeleton. Like you have like that death look on your face. I've seen people do it, and they go through these medically supervised calorie counting deals, and they're drinking like a green drink all day. And it's like, that's not good. Essentially, don't cut your calories. You're going to put so much stress on your adrenal system. Your adrenal system can't do what it needs to do. If that can't do what it needs to do, your body is done. And it's going to take a long time to be able to feel good, because you're going to have a massive bounce back after you go through that whole process. So don't cut your calories too low. Please, 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 please. In conjunction with that, what happens is most people, they'll cut their calories super low, and on top of that, they'll add in a bunch of exercise. Now, I talked about if you're just living, just basic functioning, and you cut your calories too low, you're going to feel tired and sluggish and not very good. If you add in a ton of like exercise and movement and stress, because that's what essentially working out does, it stresses you out. If you add a bunch of that in, on top of not having the building blocks for energy into your system, you're going to just be so stressed out and just feel so terrible. And you're going to really, really stress out your adrenals and screw your system up to the point to where you're not going to be able to function properly. And you can get burnout and a number of other things that happen. But you're going to undercut your body's ability to provide for itself. And if you do that, and that's not good. And the reason it's not good is because calories are important. Yes. Your hormones are even more important. They run the show. If they cannot run the show properly, your body is not going to be where it wants to be. Just mentally, you might be like, oh, I'm doing good, because logically it makes sense. If from a number standpoint, I can cut my calories, and if I'm putting them in the formula, if I'm taking in less and I'm burning more, that should equal weight loss. But our body does not follow logic. It doesn't. It's not operating off of logic. It's not if A equals this, then B equals... No, it does with what it can, and it just tries to function. So if I undercut all my calories and I've done all this extra working out, my body's not going to lose weight. It might temporarily at first, but then after that, it just basically starts eating away at itself to do what it needs to do to meet the demands that you're putting upon it. Don't undercut your calories. Don't add in a bunch of extra workouts. Just don't. Make sure you're eating enough and you're moving enough. We do 30 minutes a day here at Avenue. That's it. 30-minute workouts. That's fantastic. You can get enough done in 30 minutes. You don't have to go and do 2 hours plus a run, plus a bike trip, all this other junk just in the name of losing a few calories because your MyFitnessPal said you needed to burn those extra calories to meet your number. That's bull. And it's a waste of your time, and it's a waste of your energy, if you even have enough energy because you've undercut your calories so low. So make sure you do not overdo the exercise, especially in conjunction with having too few calories. Oh, that's good. So it's a calorie myth. I mean, there's books out there on it. And then, like I said, calories are important, but your hormones are more important. They run the freaking show. All right, so there's that. Next on the list of issues that come with dieting and quick fixes is eating fake food. And you know what I'm talking about? It's like you can go and get like a fat-free half and half, which shouldn't even make sense. Fat-free half and half. I'm like, come on now. What? Huh? How's that even real? It doesn't make sense. So there's a ton of products that are out there, like Snackwell cookies. Oh, they don't have a lot of fat to them. They're healthy. There's a number of these products that come out because the dieting industry is so big. I think in 2014, I believe the number was $64 billion. And that's a lot of it comes from food products, or food-like products, I should say. They're not coming from real food. Because there's not a lot of money to be made in real food. There's a lot of money to be made in food-like products. So like smoothie replacements. I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of come after it and say like some of the Beachbody stuff. If these shakes and these other things, like those are food-like products. It's not real. Yes, it has a bunch of vitamins, minerals, and I get that. And it's just not real food. That's really all I'm trying to say on that note. But it's like, you can look at you can walk down a health aisle. If you go down like an H-E-B or a Whole Foods and you find like all the minerals and vitamins and pills and supplements and all this crap that's out there designed to make you feel like you're not doing enough for yourself, because most people, we're not taking in the proper amounts of food nutrients. So these supplements are supposed to help us when really we just turn to rely on them. So if you're dieting, most diets are going to have this supplement program that you can go and purchase and you can get on the side. When really, if you have no idea what you should even be taking, how much of it you should be taking, I will give a quick plug to Nicole Fennell of Choose Food Wisely. She's a dietitian here, and she can go and test your blood to find out what you're deficient in. And then based off of that, she can give you a tailored plan to say, eat these foods. And then you might want to have a few of these supplements here and there. My wife's been doing it. And I know some other clients of ours that have done it. Some of the employees here at Avenue have done it. And they've been able to take this test with her and then go from it and say that these other supplements might help because they're actually going to fill the void of what this individual needs versus like some store-bought thing that's been sitting on the shelf for who knows how long. So that kind of goes into fake foods. I know, like, you get into the protein bars and the protein shakes, and they have a bunch of just crap in them. You can get lost in the ingredient list. Don't just fall for these foods because they say protein or meal replacement or whatever it is. It doesn't make them good or better. It just makes them a fake food-like product. So don't rely on those. Don't fall into that trap that you have to have stuff like that. And then another one that I think is really important in this time, when most people want to eat better, they cut carbs. Carbs are the enemy, as Fat Bastard says. So don't just cut your carbs and not know why you're doing it. Now, if I were to tell you a good range, if you want to lose weight, like 100 grams of carbs a day typically is good. Now, if your energy levels are up, like if you're one of those runners and like crazy exercisers and you cut your carbs down to like 25 grams of carbs, you are going to feel terrible and you're not going to be able to replace the energy that you burn through every day. So make sure if you do cut your carbs, maybe you cut them to 100 grams. Start there. Don't get any lower than that. See how you feel, because everybody's going to be vastly different, but make sure you don't just cut them out, because vegetables are carbs. Keep that in mind. Veggies are carbs. You need carbohydrate. You need carbohydrates. Potatoes are not bad for you. If you eat potatoes all day, every day, then they're not good. You have to look at the context. Pay attention to the context of the carb. Don't just say that carbs are bad. Processed carbs, a bunch of crappy pastas, some of those things, but there are high quality pastas you can find. You can use spaghetti squash, and yes, it's still a carb, but it's a much better version. So fake food is bad, as well as the idea that you have to just get rid of carbs from your diet. Don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. So those are a few little quick tips. Eating too little, exercising too much, doing both of those together, eating fake food, and then just making carbs this terrible enemy, because it's not at all. And so when you look at that and you can say that, okay, I make sure I eat enough. How do I know I eat enough? Well, you fill a plate, you eat slowly, and you wait till you're full. You make sure you have good quality fat and protein within your diet. That's going to help you feel full. It's going to help make sure you're eating enough. You feel satiated. You're not just starving all the time. That's a good way to go. Pay attention to the underlying habits. That's what I tell you. If you're going to diet, I would tell you just to pay attention to your environment. Pay attention to the size of your plate. Pay attention to how much food you've stacked on that plate. Pay attention to how quickly you've eaten that stack of food on your plate. And then pay attention to, are you eating because the food is there? Are you eating because you're bored? Are you eating because you don't feel good? You're sad, you're mad, unhappy, all that good stuff. Keep that in mind. And now, what I really want you to dive into, we kind of got on that soapbox at the beginning, and we're going to end jumping off the soapbox. Like I said, 1 in 3 Americans are obese, and 70% of Americans are overweight. And I'm willing to wager good money, that the bigger issue is the weight of the shame and guilt that weigh on our minds and our hearts, more so than the weight that shows on a scale. I'm going to say that one more time. I'm willing to bet good money that the shame and guilt that we feel because we think we weigh too much or we look a certain way, that affects us more than the physical weight we carry on our bodies. It holds us back from achieving things we want to achieve. Maybe it holds us back from talking to a girl at a bar. Maybe like, I'm just not, I'm too fat to go do that. Or, you sit there and you pay more attention to how you think your clothes look than playing with your kids. And as your kids are watching you do this stuff, you talk about how you're fat. You talk about how you're not skinny enough. Your kids hear that. It's been a big thing with us in our house, is to make sure that, we don't tell our daughter she looks skinny, or we don't, obviously she's only almost a year and a half, but as she gets older, we don't want to use those kinds of words because I don't want her to dictate her happiness based off of thinness. And I just want you guys to really know that dieting in 2016 is going to be different for you. Pay attention to the habits. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't pay attention to, a number on a scale and let it dictate your life and overall happiness. Just don't. Because I promise you, it's much better to go through it and say that you are a better individual than you would be if you followed that path every single day to weigh yourself over and over and over and then base happiness off of the number. Because I weigh, who knows, 195-ish, 190, 185. It's always all over the place. But I know if I'm happy or not. I know if I'm sad. I know that can dictate my day, my week, my month, my year. Let's make 2016 completely different for you and your family and for anybody that's involved with you, because they all know if you're on a diet. Believe me, every time we do something, everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are doing this. You're paleo-ish." I'm like, well, that's just how we eat. I mean, that's okay. But you are more than the number shows, and you in 2016 can eat completely differently. You can make sure you eat enough, and you're not too crazy about all this other stuff, and think you have to get your 2-a-day workouts in. You don't have to, I promise. So do the right thing. And just follow these rules. Here, I'll make it easy on you. Michael Pollan says it best. 3 rules, write these down. Eat food, mostly plants, not too much. That seems simple. Food means you're not eating a bunch of crap in a box or plastic bags. Eating plants, you're eating a ton of vegetables, a lot of green, a lot of color. And then not too much. You don't just sit there and gorge out of habit or because you're not paying attention, you're not mindful. You don't care enough to be in the moment to eat and pay attention to what you're eating. So follow those steps. Eat food, mostly plants, not too much. It doesn't have to be any more complex than that, I promise you. So I would love to hear how that goes for you. And I would love to hear as this journey through 2016 builds and changes for you, that you're able to find success in the little things and the little habits that you build and that you create and that you change for yourself. Make 2016, I call it in the last podcast, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, because you can. So do that. Make it a badass year for yourself and feel great and be happy and treat yourself like you deserve to be treated. Don't treat yourself through temporary diets and fads. Do it through a series of long-term changes that will ultimately lead to you being the best version that you have ever been, physically and mentally. So keep that in mind, guys. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. It has been fun talking with you on the first episode of 2016. So thank you guys very much for being here. I really do appreciate it, and I'm excited to be able to share this journey with you all. I would really love it if you give me feedback and a rating on iTunes, because that lets me know what I could get better at. It lets me know what I can bring you guys. If you have any guest ideas or anybody that you'd love me to reach out to, throw it out there. We have some cool stuff lined up, but always looking for help. Always want to be better for you guys. So, do that. Share it with a friend, anybody that you feel could benefit from this message or the messages of the past. And, we'll keep this bad boy rolling, and I look forward to sharing this journey with you as we go. And, so on that note, I'm going to end it. Have a good day. Go to avenuefit.com for any more information. You can get it all there. I will see you guys later. See you next week.